bounce forward. Howdy, Ags! AP here from the Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Oh, man. Week two.
Yep.
Brought to you by Rawson Distributing, assisting Aggies with all their building needs. Aggie owned and operated. Folks, don't forget, email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Also want to give a little shout out to, I think it's Par, who left a message for us on the YouTube channel. Had some commentary about Haynes King and his 2 interceptions.
What he said?
A little disappointed in the man.
Hey,
we'll see how he develops.
We're starting a club.
Little recruiting news this week. 2 commits. Top 100 cornerback Bravion Rogers from LaGrange committed. Recommitted because he was a commit. He decommitted. He came back.
Yep.
4-star, 5'11", 185. Look, I mean, this guy is one of the top players in the country. Definitely one of the top DBs in the country. Hopefully, he sticks around. He's a big time player out of LaGrange. So that's a good one. 6'4", 310-pound offensive lineman, TJ Shanahan.
That's exciting.
Oh, man. Kid from Westlake. Big dude. Being recruited by Georgia, LSU, Bama, those kind of guys.
Small schools.
Yep. Tells you a little bit something about it. Also, some injury news or updates from Jimbo this week. McKinley Jackson should be good to go. Jalen Jones should be good to go. Hopefully we'll see him on the field this week, ready to roll, okay?
Right.
Yep. Pre-tailgate, presented by David Coffin, PLLC,
right.
Tax Controversy and Litigation Lawyers, the only tax attorney here in BCS. All right, so this week 2, so exciting, so exciting. We got, they always talk about the improvement for a team between week 1 and week 2. Obviously, after you've seen your first action, you get things on tape. There should be a substantial amount of improvement. This week we get App State. They lost last week to North Carolina. The games that kick off at 2:30 at Kyle Field. A&M's a 19-point favorite in this one with an over-under of 454. We'll sort of get into some predictions a little bit later.
Right.
We watched that game last week with the Tar Heels. 63-61. It was an exciting contest.
It was.
The Tar Heels almost gave it up at the end there on that returned onside kick.
Mm-hmm.
At least gave him another shot.
I mean, I was watching that game with this guy, and he goes, "This game's over after the third quarter." He goes, "Go ahead and change it."
I wonder who would have said that.
I was like, "You sure about that?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's changing." I was like, "Okay," and I kept watching. I was like, "Leo, you watching this? Here it goes."
Look, they scored 40 points in the fourth quarter. That's
onside kick for a touchdown was the funniest play all season. I mean, he could have won the game just by falling down.
I was really hoping that one of his teammates would tackle him.
I was too.
But they did do that in the fourth quarter. In the first 3 quarters, they only scored 21, and they moved the ball quite a bit,
Yeah. That Carolina defense isn't an Aggie defense, so you don't make any mistakes there.
Yeah. Their defense gave up 567 yards to UNC also. It's not like their defense was stifling or anything of that nature.
The Carolina quarterback was good, though. I enjoyed watching that kid play. I thought he was, for a freshman.
Redshirt freshman, yeah, pretty good.
He got the ball out quick, and he was accurate, and he put up some good stats.
But as we go into this with regards to the Aggies and the matchup this week, right, they put up 649 yards offensively. This is at least going to be a test for the defense. And not only that, it'll sort of give us a barometer for the offense. So let's start with the offense, the Aggie offense. The Aggie offense here. Look, their defense is a 4-2-5, what everybody pretty much runs. Just from last week, you never know what else they put in, but they like to rush 4. They don't bring a ton of pressure until it's critical downs, right? They do like to bring pressure on third, passing downs, that kind of thing, short yardage, those types of things. But, they played a zone behind it a lot. Their coverage was, needless to say, not very good given North Carolina's numbers.
Well, North Carolina was missing their best receiver also. Josh Downs was out, and And Josh Downs, you put him on the Aggie team, and he's just another weapon. He's not, he's a good receiver, but you get Ainias and you get Stewart. I mean, you got too much talent.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing to consider here and to keep in mind, everybody's building this thing up, how good App State is. Jimbo talks about it. Hey, look, this is a quality program. Obviously, their game against North Carolina last week. This team is not a slouch by any means. I mean, it's not a throwaway. But, and let me add this. On top of that, defensively, all 11 of their players are at least third-year players. One of them is a redshirt sophomore. The rest of them are juniors and seniors. Mm-hmm. Those guys have been in the program for a while. They're established football players with experience that have played a lot of ball, yet they weren't very good, which I guess is something to be said. Defensive line-wise, they're undersized.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have a single guy over 300 pounds on that defensive line. Their best defensive end is a sort of a rush end kind of guy, number 9. And, he's kind of explosive off the ball, quick off the ball, that kind of thing. But, he's really, really undersized. I think 225 or 235 or something like that. So,
the back's bigger now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as you look at the matchup with the Aggies, what do you expect to see?
I expect the offensive line to do a lot better than last week. App State's going to do the same thing that Sam did. They watch the tape. They're going to do the stunts. I don't think they're going to blitz, but Achane should get rolling. And we should be able to run the ball. That 4.25 undersized D-line, you should be able to, 5-6 yards of carry, you'd think, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be, to me, this is the key, right? Because at the end of the day, look, App State last week didn't show as many of the stunts as Sam did, but they used some. The question is whether they implement it even more this week, especially with the fact that they're so undersized, right? I can't imagine any reason why they wouldn't, but who knows?
I mean, if we should be able to run the ball against them, it should open up the play-action pass, and that's when Haynes can take advantage of throwing the ball deep like he wanted to last week, which I think he forced some. But you do a little play-action pass, you get, some guys running open downfield because they're going to bite on that run if we can get the run going. We never got it going last week.
The other thing that obviously for me is key is the fact that, like you said, we just got too many athletes.
Oh yeah,
too many athletes out on the perimeter, especially, right? I mean, I could see Ainias having another monster game in this game if they give him some opportunities.
Right.
He's going to find space in that defense because they can't cover him, right?
They shouldn't be able to.
The question is, how about some of the other guys, right? What's Stewart going to get a little bit more play in there? Is Marshall going to get a little bit more play? What's going to, how about you'll keep all those guys fit the mold of players that should give this group a hard time in the secondary?
I think we're going to see this game what we expected to see in the first game, and that's domination. And I don't see any reason. I think we learned our lesson last week. Maybe we took Sam a little bit too light. I'm not sure. I don't know what the reason was. This first game we should have been pumped, but we should come out there, dominate the game. Hopefully Haynes learned from his mistakes. The offensive line learned from their mistakes. And if we screw up those two right there, I mean, we dominated Sam. Don't get me wrong. We did dominate the game, 31-0, but it should have been like a Georgia 49-3, you know what I'm saying, where the game's in hand at halftime, where we're playing the backups late in the second quarter, early third quarter, and we're getting ready for Miami next week.
So the key for this offense, if you ask me, is progress from the offensive line, right?
Absolutely.
How do those guards go from game 1 and game 2 to game 2? Can they get their heads right, basically? Because it wasn't a physical situation, right? It wasn't that they got beat physically. It was the fact that mentally they didn't pick up some things. They didn't see things coming across. They sort of got their face dug into some of those defensive linemen and didn't see things crossing their face. Can they improve, especially at those 2 guard spots, Layden Robinson, Aggie, Moko, whoever's on the field, those 3 guys, they have to play better.
Yeah, actually, that's what you just said. I mean, they have to play better. It's not can they or will they. They have to. I mean, It's just the way it is. I mean, if they don't play better, we don't play better. I mean, the running game's not going to work. The play action pass isn't going to work. Then Haynes is going to be doing the same thing he did last week. He's going to be forcing balls that we don't want him to force because the defense didn't bite, and that's something that I think Jimbo's counting on is the running game.
And the pass pro was a lot better than the run protecting, obviously, the run blocking, obviously. I think that they'll Haynes is going to have some opportunities. I also want to see, and we've talked about it, right? I want to see Haynes still create the big play, but I also want to see him in situations where the big play is not there, where they are double teaming over the top. I want to see him take the check down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see him take the check down because those check downs are going to turn into big plays eventually because those receivers are better athletes than the guys across the field, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think I saw way too many 3-and-outs last week. I mean, there shouldn't be 3-and-outs against Sam App. We need to do the check downs, get the first down, focus on what you have to do, get the guys the ball, get them in space. And Jimbo's never really been that good at doing that. It's, he's like, the playbook, you run your routes, you beat your guy. But we don't do any rubs, anything like that, but maybe we should.
And I think that one other thing for me is I want to know, do we see the tight ends more?
Oh, we have to.
Do they get a little bit more prominent role?
Is Max Wright playing this week? I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
I don't think so. I think he's still out. Because ultimately the tight end is always a weapon, especially with some of the guys, especially the young guys that we have in the program, right? Those guys can create mismatches.
Right.
And so I'd like to see some of those guys at least get involved a little bit, especially early in the game, which they didn't at all last week. And the other question to me is also, do we see any of the backup running backs? Or even using a guy like Crownover as a fullback or one of the tight ends as a fullback and get into some I formation or two-back sets to try to help the running game some. We did a little bit with Ainias and Achane last week, but I want somebody a little bit more physical in there.
Right.
That's going to be a bruiser.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Now, honestly, I don't think that much is going to change, to be honest with you. I can't imagine Jimbo changing what he's doing. I don't think I'm sure Jimbo, they say they don't think ahead to next week, but I'm sure he's thinking ahead to Miami. I'm sure he's going to have some rings for them. This is still pretty much a warm-up game for us. We should win this game and win it handily. But in Jimbo's eyes, he's like, Miami's just around the corner. And Miami won 70-something to 3 or something. I don't know what the final score was against it. I mean, get me wrong. It was a Bethune-Cookman or something.
Yeah.
But, it's next week will really be the tell. But this week, we've got to get better offensive line. Quarterback play's got to be better. He's got to be more decisive, make better throws, make better decisions with who he's hitting underneath routes, like you were saying. But, the wide receivers just need to do what they did last week.
And look, me and you have had a big disagreement with the Haynes King situation. I think, that he played great last week. No, he had those interceptions were uncalled for, especially on first down.
Right.
He's got to be smarter about what he's doing there. However, I also think he made a ton of plays. I think he made a ton of plays. He made a ton of good plays. He delivered the ball accurately a lot. He underthrew some guys, don't get me wrong. But he did deliver the ball accurately a lot. I think he hasn't played a ton of football, and that's what I want to see this week from Haynes. I believe that this week he has to start showing some of that progress, right?
Now, what if he doesn't?
If he doesn't, then there's –
because we've seen two samples of him. We saw Kent State last year, and we saw Sam Houston. And then, don't get me wrong, they're not bad teams, but they're not the quality competition. And then he played a quarter against Colorado, I think, in which Colorado was probably the worst team in the Pac-12. So, if he does the same thing again against App State, you hanging your hat on Haynes King the rest of the season going,
I'm not ready to – there's degrees of bad, right? But let's say he comes out and turns the ball over a couple more times this week. Then it does start to feel like a pattern, right?
Right.
It does start to feel like an issue with him.
Because that's a big issue with me is we have such a strong defense, we believe. And we'll find out more as the season goes on. But we have a lot of talent outside the ball. Why? I don't want to put the defense in bad situations because Haynes King is throwing the ball away or doing too many 3-and-outs and the defense staying on the field all day.
I think that in a situation where maybe these interceptions come on, throws down the field, on third down type situation, I wouldn't be as critical, right? If he's doing it again, first down, second down, early down situations where we can go get a first down, continue drives, I think it starts to look a lot like a pattern of a guy that's really just forcing the ball. So there is degrees of sort of how this ends up. Ultimately, I expect him to play better this week, but he's got to go out and do it.
Yeah, he does. Absolutely. He has to do it. I mean, he has the weapons. He has the talent. I don't like his throwing motion. I told you that over and over. I wish he would go see somebody about, getting a quicker trigger. And
I thought he already had a quarterback guru.
I'm not sure who it is. It's Jimbo, then something's wrong. But, he's – like I said, I mean, I expect him to play better, and if he doesn't, we're going to be having the same conversation we've had.
Yeah, obviously, help from the offensive line in the running game will take pressure off of him.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, this is a team that gave up 63 points to North Carolina or 62 points to North Carolina, whatever 63. It was, 63. You need to go score.
Right. Absolutely.
You need to go score, period. All right? Offensively, these guys, App State, once again, a lot of juniors and seniors in the lineup, a lot more in the two deep, right? These guys are experienced guys that have been on the field for a while. The quarterback, Chase Bryce, right? He's a guy that was recruited by Clemson.
Yeah,
right?
Clemson.
He was recruited by Clemson. He's no chump.
Yeah.
He made some real nice plays last week against UNC.
And he'll run the ball too.
Oh yeah.
He's not afraid to tuck and run.
Look, and their running game was pretty good. They had, led by their running back. I think it's Neal, and he had 116 yards or something like that on not too many carries. And he looked explosive. He's very slight though. He is very slight. And some folks talk about Achane being a small, but Achane's got his lower half is thick. Right.
Yeah.
This guy, not so much.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. I don't think he'll have the opportunity to create big plays against this defense. I don't think that they're going to be able to do, their offensive line, 3 guys are under 300, right? So, they're not
unheard of anymore. It's unheard of.
So they don't have that sort of, presence up there, right? They're not going to be able to open up those holes, especially against our defensive line. But the passing game is where they should be. This defense is going to get a little bit better test. They like to use their tight end. We talked about it last week. The Aggies left the Sam tight end wide open. They didn't even think about covering that guy for half the game.
Who was covering him anyway? They're supposed to. Was it Cooper? Was it
whoever it was
White?
Supposed to be? They didn't even consider it. So it's hard to tell in a situation where the guy's that wide open. Some of it was in zone plays where he found some holes in it. But at the end of the day, that's going to be a matchup because they do like to use their tight end, and they've got 3 other wide receivers. One kind of a more slot, shifty kind of guy, smaller, but had a big game last week, and 2 big outside guys, 6'2", 6'3" guys on the outside. So they've got weapons with a variety of skill sets on the outside to create plays in the passing game. The question is, 1, will that quarterback have time? 2, what does the secondary do as far as coverage skills, right?
Exactly. That's what you're hanging your hat on again is the secondary getting up there and giving that defensive line time to get the pressures. We don't have the speed rushers as of right now that we had last year. So if the secondary can cover just a second or 2 longer, give us a chance to get that inside press coming on. What did we have, 2 turnovers last week?
Yes.
That should be our minimum every game, I think.
I will say this. They like to create scheme guys open, let's say. They use formations and different rub routes and things to try to scheme guys open. They did it last week. They're going to try to do it again. That has been an issue for our defense in the past.
Against Auburn and teams like that, yeah.
Correct. So that's going to be a great test, I think, for this new version of the Aggie defense under Durkin, right? How do they handle things of that nature? Can they be better in the secondary and coverage for those guys? I like the test because I think obviously we're a better team. We got better athletes, but still it's gonna test you enough so that you can sort of see where things need to improve.
The thing about the scheme is we have a lot of young players. First, second, we don't have a whole lot of those 3rd, 4th players. That's the ones that can understand the scheme. They've been in our, playing defense against college teams. Now you got first and second year players. All mainly they do is just react. They don't read plays. They just, he snapped, he's going here, I'm going there. And that's when App State will have a chance to burn us. And that's when we'll find out how these young players are. I mean, we have some experience in the secondary, which is good. Cooper, linebacker, I don't see him getting burnt too much. And you have Jackson. I mean, are they going to run a lot of, screen passes? If they do, I mean, are our linemen going to be upfield too far? I mean, we're going to get burnt on that. It's just stuff they need to start recognizing, because you have young people, all they want to do is get after the quarterback, and we get in that mindset, the screen passes.
Look, and we've talked about it before, right? I mean, you give anybody a ton of time, they're eventually going to find somebody open. Somebody's going to get open. That's just the way it works. So the other thing is, okay, will the addition of McKinley Jackson into that rotation help us create some more pressure inside so that Fidel Diggs, as he's coming from the outside, can get some more pressure on the outside so that guy doesn't have all the room inside to step up, do those kinds of things? And then does Durkin start to implement some more of the blitzes to try to create that pressure as well? They didn't blitz as much as they had in the past couple of years in week one. What's going to happen in week two? Are they going to start that process to try to help the secondary out as far as time goes?
Well, McKinley Jackson will make a huge difference. I mean, him alone, I think he's our best interior defensive lineman as of right now. He might not have the talent some of these freshmen do, but he is our best one. He'll get pushed. He'll almost demand double teams every time. The center and guard are going to be on him. The tackle's going to have an eye on him also, I think. So, yeah, Diggs will have a chance to get some pressure.
Look, and these guys averaged 6.7 yards a carry in the rush game. Last week. They had, like I said, all the yards passing. End of the day, if this Aggie defense comes in, shuts this down, doesn't allow 20 points in this game, I think they're starting to show the fact that, look, this defense is maybe better than last year's.
So you're thinking App State might score 20 points this game?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
All right, so a couple of little tidbits here for you. I don't want to hear from anybody talking about the fact that this team is a really good team, and if this game is tight, well, there's great competition. Look what they did against North Carolina, right? I don't want to hear that, because let me give you this. Including since 2022 recruiting class, their recruiting classes were ranked 95, 78, 88, 102nd, 113th over the last 5 years. They did not recruit one single four-star player.
Well, it's App State. I mean, that's what they are. I agree. It's not much different than what we played last week then.
So if
right?
But
you said
the
best player
Sam was worse than that, right?
Well, I mean, you were saying Sam's best player is probably a 3-star, right? So that's what this team is. But look how many years they've all been in the system.
True.
3, 4, that means something.
It does. But, folks are over. Obviously, it's a big deal this week how many freshmen the Aggies played on offense and defense, whatever, and all this stuff. It's a huge deal. But at the same time, there's plenty of older guys that played as well, right? I mean, Jalen Jones didn't play. Damani Richardson's a fourth-year guy, right?
Right.
Evan, I remember where. Fidel Diggs is a third-year guy.
Right.
Cooper is a third-year guy. So there was guys out there on that field that have been on campus for some time. And yes, White, fourth year, right? Russell at linebacker, third year, maybe fourth year, actually. Yeah. Right? So all those guys have been around for some time is my point. A lot of these guys getting reps have been around for some time. Yeah, freshmen got in, especially at cornerback. Bowie and Harris both got plenty of playing time with the first group. Gilbert's a second-year guy, so a little bit younger. Some of the defensive line guys. Rakes has been around for a long time. He got plenty of reps, right? And the guys that did get reps as freshmen are all 5-stars. So, I mean, are we really saying, hey, look, this experience is the difference between that team and our team? I don't think so.
No, we should. I mean, like I was saying earlier, we should dominate this game, both sides of the ball. As long as our offense doesn't put our defense in bad situations, I mean, I don't see the score being much different than last week's.
All right. For the Aggie offense, what is the matchup to watch that you want to see?
I want to see our offensive line go against our defensive line. I want to see them dominate the game. I want to see them pushing guys. I mean, no, just willing, hey, I'm better than you are. You're going to have to put 8 guys in the box to stop our running game. That's what I want to see. I want to see them change their defensive scheme to stop what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I want to see. I'm an offensive line guy, man. I coach the offensive line. It's where I am passionate about those guys. I'll go back and I go watch them one at a time, over and over again, check out their forms, their steps, where their hat placement is, where are their hands, where's their eyes, all those things, right? Because offensive linemen are technicians, man.
Right.
They're technicians. And you always talk about, this guy's, got that intensity and that meanness, that everybody loves to see. But at the end of the day, the best ones have to be technicians, even whether they have that mean streak or not. I want to see that step from last week to this week and all the pickups and everything that they're doing. And I think that's the matchup to watch this week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For our offense, anyway.
Yeah.
How about on defense? What's the matchup you want to see for our defense?
I want to see the same thing. I want to see the defensive line get pressure without having to bring any blitzes. I want to see that secondary come up and almost do bump and run because they're going to have to get rid of the ball quick, right? Because we have more talent than they do. We don't have to blitz to do that, but they're going to try quick passes. It's just that's who they are. They're going to do these schemes. If you get bump and run, you're going to be up in their face. I'd like to see that defensive line just dominate the game. I'm talking domination. I'm talking sacks in the backfield, fumbles, false starts on that offensive line because they're sketchy. They're like, oh, shit, where's he going?
I think that there's no question that our defensive line is going to dominate, especially in the running game here. That to me is not really an issue. So for me, I really want to see what this secondary does against a team that's really, really going to test them, right? With a number of different weapons, with using the tight end, getting the ball out to some of their playmakers and different things. Now, should they be able to, really challenge our defense? No.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I do think that there's going to be balls in the air, and I do think there's going to be opportunities for that secondary to make plays.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I want to see how it goes.
Yeah, I do too.
How do they respond to those scheme situations
Absolutely.
Where they're trying to get guys open specifically, right?
Right.
Those are all different things, and that's a test on the linebackers. That's a test on the secondary and the safety specifically. The corners will be manned up a lot. So, it's almost schematic and processing and thought, more than the physicality. I think obviously we're the more physical team. We're better athletes, all those things. Do we pick up where we need to pick up on some of those things?
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
In the passing game, right? All right, so how about this? Offensive player of the game for the Aggies.
I want to say Haynes King. I think he's going to have a better game. I think the offensive line's going to be better. I think he's going to be our player of the game. I think he'll throw 3, maybe 4 touchdowns and maybe even have 1 rushing if he plays the entire game.
Yeah.
But, I think I could see him doing that. I think he's that kind of talent, but it's all in his head. If he takes too many deep shots, if he's going to throw the ball underneath, is he going to give our athletes a chance? He doesn't have to throw the ball deep for them to score a touchdown. He can hit Ainias on a 5-yard, slant, and Ainias is gone.
Or Evan Stewart.
Marshall, any of these
Marshall,
guys.
Yulke.
We're going to be bigger, faster.
Muhammad.
Any of them. Yeah, Preston, you name it.
I wouldn't mind seeing Muhammad on the field more.
I wouldn't mind seeing Preston. I wouldn't mind seeing a whole bunch of these guys. I want Jake Johnson. I want to see him getting – I see a big tight end going over the middle. Green.
I think our offense – look, and everybody knows that I'm an Ainias Smith guy. That guy to me is the best football player on this team. He will do anything they ask him to, and he will work his butt off to be good at it, right?
Right.
That dude's a beast. And he may have another game just like he did last week of 150 yards. It's a good chance, actually. I think this week Jimbo makes it a point against a team like App State that did what they did last week and gave up what they gave up last week to make sure Achane is getting.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to go
Achane.
Achane.
Gotcha. That's a good call. Good pick.
How about a surprise performer from that offense?
If we get anything out of the tight ends, that'll be my surprise. I want to see something from the tight ends. I don't care. I don't even know if they had a catch last week or not, but Green, Johnson, somebody do something. Get in the stats. Get in the book. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Basically, if the tight ends show up at all, that's already a surprise performer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I do like that pick. I'm.
But you already said Muhammad. You probably think of Muhammad, huh?
No, I'm not. I said I wanted to see Muhammad. I didn't say we would see Muhammad. I'm actually wondering whether one of the backup tailbacks has a big day.
I can't imagine.
I'm wondering whether we get a big day from Daniels, or maybe even out of nowhere, Crownover getting more reps as a bigger back.
Right.
So I'm going to go backup tailback, maybe big day for them as well, which is crazy from a team that couldn't run the ball at all last week against Sam, and I'm saying 2 running backs are going to be your players in the game. There you go. So
probably a terrible call.
That is probably a terrible call. Yeah. All right. How about defensive player of the week?
He's back, McKinley. He's back. I want to see him dominate that interior. I mean, he doesn't even have to get any stats to be dominant on that defense. Just his presence and him getting pressure. He might not get a tackle for loss, but what he's doing for the rest of the defensive line, secondary, linebackers, it's huge. And I don't think people understand how big that is. I mean, no one came in last week, did a good job getting pressure interior.
Oh, he was great. Phenomenal.
I think that you can see the same thing from McKinley this week.
I like that pick. I like the McKinley Jackson pick a lot. And look, last week I thought Fidel Diggs was probably our best defensive lineman. I'd sort of been underplaying him all off season. I'm on the Fidel Diggs bandwagon at this point. I loved what I saw from him last week. But this week I'm sort of thinking
secondary
Gilbert.
Yeah, it was a good game last week.
Yeah. I really, really liked what I saw from him last week.
He leads the team in interceptions, I think. Right?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah.
I expect him to get another one this week, by the way. I expect him to get another one this week. I'm telling you, I thought he was all over the field. He was flying around. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing in coverage. He just had a phenomenal day last weekend.
Did App State throw the ball downfield, or were they throwing it side to side and in the middle? I mean, were they actually going like 20 yards downfield? Or
they didn't have the opportunity to do it too much downfield, right? I mean, but I thought that and not only was he making plays in coverage, right? He was all over the field, but the guy was absolutely busting up running plays at the line of scrimmage coming from 20 yards back, right?
Right.
And so I just think he's an all-around player, man, and I didn't realize exactly how athletic this dude is. Man, the guy sees it and goes, and he triggers, man. So I'm gonna go Jordan Gilbert.
Good call.
How about surprise performer for the defense?
Surprise performer?
Yeah.
I mean, I like White. I know you're not as high on White as I am. I think he's my surprise performer. I like him.
And he did make some plays last week,
he
right?
got his hands on a couple balls over in the air. He caused that interception for Gilbert. And if they're going to throw these,
he might have been involved in the fumble as well.
Well, if they're going to throw these little schemes and stuff like that, it's I'll be surprised if White's in the right position. I'll be very surprised. He'll be my surprise. I'll be surprised he's in the right position if he makes a play.
I don't think that's what I meant when we talked about surprise performer, but I like where your head's at. It's hard to pick a surprise performer on this defense just because of the fact that you expect it, right, from pretty much everybody out there.
That's what I'm saying about White. I'm like, you don't know.
I'm going to go with a rush end on this one.
Who?
And I'm going to go with one of the freshmen.
Which one?
Stewart.
Yeah. He looked good in practice, man. We saw him in that practice.
He looked good last week.
He's athletic.
Yeah.
Guys.
He showed me a lot more than Lucas last week. I would be giving him a lot more reps than probably any of the other defensive ends as far as just a rush guy.
Yeah.
And White was out there some, but he's so undersized that I would rather see Stewart. Obviously, I talked about Fidel Diggs. That's not going to be a surprise.
Right.
We've talked so much about Nolan and how well he performed last week. I don't think that's a surprise. He'd be an easy pick. That dude's going to play, and he's going to make plays. I'm going Stewart. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's got his first couple of sacks.
I like it. I'd like to see more of a rotation on the defense instead of a variety. I want to see like a normal rotation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't want to see 20 players play on the defensive line. I want to see
at least not in the first half.
Exactly. I want to see guys get into a rhythm. Like you were saying last week. I mean, how do you get into a rhythm on defense, just like offense? I mean, how do you get pumped when you know you're coming out of the game next play?
Overton's another guy, right? Overton's another guy that played pretty well last week that showed some flashes and stuff, and he'll still get some reps there. But I do expect Stewart to have a bigger part of that. So,
good call.
Just a guy sort of out of the ordinary, not being talked about a ton.
Probably a kiss of death.
Yeah, he's probably not going to get on the field. Score prediction, all right? Score prediction. So we talked about it earlier. Over under here. No. The spread is, what do we say?
19.
19. Yep. Over under 54. Okay. So what's your score prediction? What do you expect this game to be? How many points do you expect the Aggies to score?
Well, I said Haynes, 4 touchdowns and 1 rushing. So that's 7 times 5, 35. Maybe a defensive touchdown there, 42. I'd say 45-10.
Nothing from Achane?
Guess not. Maybe he catches one of the passes.
45-10. Ooh.
That's it. I mean, it could be more, but I mean, if we start doing the 3 and outs right off the bat, it'll tell you. I mean, that's what happened last week.
Everybody's going to talk about North Carolina and the points that they put up and everything else.
I'm talking about A&M.
I know. But what I'm saying is that, when we scored less than the 60-something that North Carolina. First of all, that last touchdown was a gimme. So make it, 47 or whatever, 46 or whatever for North Carolina. The other thing is that Jimbo runs the clock, right? Mm-hmm. He's not going to get in there and just North Carolina was on the ball. Right. So I agree. We're probably talking somewhere in the 40s. I'm going to go 48.
Okay.
48.
That's not bad.
On offense. Defensively, this is where you're going to see the biggest difference, right? Because, they scored 61 last week.
Yeah.
10. 10.
What I said?
You said 10. We're right on the money, right?
Well, I'd like for you to be a little bit,
So 48-10, that's a cover. And an over.
So we're screwed.
Yeah.
Last week we took the cover and the over and lost both.
I will take the under in this game. Somehow.
And we took the second half cover and didn't have anything.
I will probably take the under in this game. But that's my score prediction, 48-10. I like it. All right. Get your bets in.
Let's do it.
Let's get your bets in. So let's talk a little bit about some games around the country and some of the lines.
All right.
What you like, man?
Tell me.
We're going to start with the SEC.
Yeah. Do it.
11 o'clock game, Bama at Texas.
Bama. All day. Bama.
Bama minus 20 with a 65.5 over under.
Bama. Not sure about the over under. Bama might cover the over by themselves. So Bama.
I
didn't watch Texas at all last week. Did you watch them?
I did not watch them last week either.
I don't know. I mean, I know they scored some points, but
I heard Goodyear started off with an interception to start the game.
There you go. What are you thinking? I mean, score prediction. I think the game's over at halftime, like most Bama games are when they play inferior competition.
Yeah, 20 is a lot of points, right, against a team that's also recruiting in the top 10 every year. Sark knows that
they're transferring out every year. They're bringing in new players. Alabama can do that because they have a system pretty much in place. Sark doesn't have a system yet. He's second year.
Yeah, you're talking about a Heisman winning quarterback versus a guy that, has started a game in his career.
Exactly.
20 points is a lot. I sort of agree with you. I think I would lean towards Bama. I'd take.
Give me a score prediction. What are you thinking?
I would take. I don't know about the score.
I mean, 55-30 covers. I mean that's a way over, but Alabama, they're going to throw the ball around and.
I do expect the over, by the way. I bet the over before I bet Bama. How about
Gotcha.
that?
I might bet the first half on Bama. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll look at it. Probably be like 2 touchdowns or something.
Well, Texas hasn't played defense in about half a decade or so. So I think that's a good bet. South Carolina against Arkansas, another big game in the SEC. They're at Arkansas. Arkansas's -8, over/under 53. Pretty big game for South Carolina, with sort of all the hype that they've been getting. Obviously, a huge game for Arkansas in consideration for trying to play for an SEC West title. I mean, this is going to be a big game for both of these teams.
This game isn't that close. This game isn't very close. Arkansas, at least 2, maybe 3 touchdowns. It's I think the line of scrimmage will be telling the game, and Arkansas will control the ball. And I don't think South Carolina has the depth yet. Beamer hasn't had time to recruit his guys. I mean, he's upgraded with Rattler at quarterback, but they don't have the weapons.
Yeah, I think ultimately the line of scrimmage kills South Carolina, right? Arkansas is a line of scrimmage team. That's what they do, right? That is who they are.
Yeah.
And South Carolina can't match up at the line of scrimmage, their offensive line or their defensive line for that matter. I expect Arkansas to win and win big.
Who did South Carolina play last week? I don't remember right off the top of my head. They won.
But it wasn't exactly,
Yeah, so I think that they'll probably go under, might be my guess, because I think Arkansas is going to try to run the ball, control the clock, wear them down, and I can see them winning 35-14 or something like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this is a I'd put the money on Arkansas. How about Wake? -12.5 at Vandy, 65.5 over/under.
65?
Yeah.
Is Vandy for real? They beat Hawaii bad, and they beat somebody last week.
Elon?
Yeah, Elon pretty bad. So Wake is a really big step up in competition.
Yeah, they're going from playing a high school team to playing
and
a top 25.
Wake is still missing their quarterback, I believe. And either way, Wake has the mindset to throw the ball over the
Look, first of all, both of these teams are notoriously known for crap programs in football, right? I mean, they're basketball schools, right?
Well, Wake Forest has been pretty good last
But Wake Forest has been good, right? And they're expected to compete for an ACC title this year, right? So,
Wake Forest.
They won the ACC last year, didn't they? Was it Wake?
So, yeah.
I think this is no contest. The 12.5, I think Vandy's getting a lot of credit over, like you said, the wins that they had against teams that aren't very good at all. I would take Wake, and I might take the under because I'm not sure Vandy's going to score that much.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Even though Wake's defense is pretty suspect.
Well, they're all recruiting with the Appalachian State guys. They're getting those 3-star players.
All right, I love this game. Tennessee -6, Pitt 66.5 over/under. So Tennessee at
Where's
Pitt.
it at? Is that Pitt?
Yeah.
I kind of like Pitt. Plus the 6. I don't know. Call me crazy. I mean, I like Tennessee.
I'm calling you crazy.
I don't like Tennessee's defense right yet. I like Heupel, but I think Pittsburgh's well coached. They got that quarterback Slovis that showed me a little something against West Virginia last week.
Yeah.
And Pitt returns a lot of their defensive players from the year before, and that's the only thing I think Tennessee is still lacking. Their offense is great. Don't get me wrong. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, but I think Pittsburgh's going to make more defensive plays than Tennessee will. Does that make sense?
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I still think Tennessee wins this game, but I'd take the over before I take the game, right? I think the 66.5 is probably going to be like halftime.
But if you're giving me 6 points on a Pittsburgh team at home, I'm taking a 6. Now, if it's a top, I mean, I don't think Tennessee's on, it's 50-50 to me. But I don't know, man. I think Tennessee can score with the best of them, man. And I don't know that Pitt's going to have any opportunity to slow them down or stop them. I mean, ever since Tennessee has started their Hooker, they've been unbelievable since last year. Hooker came from Virginia Tech, so Pitt's seen him before. They're in the ACC,
but they hadn't seen him with this Tennessee offense.
I agree, but I'm going to say Pittsburgh plus the 6. I think they'll be in the 30s. The game with both teams will score in the 30s.
I'm pretty sure they're going to hit the over before the third quarter's over.
So that's what I usually hope for.
So that's
I look for
Alabama
halftime overs. I look for halftime overs.
All right, how about Kentucky at Florida? -6. Florida's -6. Over under 52.5.
Give me Kentucky.
Yeah.
Give me Kentucky. I mean, I liked Florida's quarterback. He looked good. He did everything for him, though. Everything. That defense seemed a little suspect, seemed to wear down. I'm not sure they have the depth. But, yeah, give me Kentucky all day.
Here's the other thing. What's going to happen when Richardson can't run the football? When they're playing a team that actually stops him from running the football? Because he didn't throw the ball that well, right?
Right. I mean, he's got a cannon, but I don't know where it's going.
I certainly wouldn't catch that damn thing.
No, it's going to hurt my finger. Break my hand.
I make all my money. Can't hurt these hands, man. That's where my money makers.
Yeah.
I'd take Florida. I agree with you. The over-under, I'd probably go over, but I don't know. I'm not as keen on that.
What's the over-under?
2.5.
All right.
How about Mizzou at K-State? K-State's -7.5. 56.5 is the over-under.
I think Missouri's awful. That's just they're SEC, but
K-State didn't look bad last week either.
K-State's got that little running back. He's going to run all over the place. Give me K-State.
He's the real deal, man.
Yeah, he's good. Vaughn or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. Give me
He's the real
K-State.
deal. Yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
Over under on that one?
56.5.
Probably under.
Whoa.
That's me.
Whoa.
I know you're an over guy.
Yeah, I like it. Let's go under. How about San Jose State at Auburn? Auburn -23, over under a 50.5. Whoa.
I told you, man.
Auburn getting a lot of respect here for a team that's about to fire their head coach.
Auburn's got a bunch of 4 or 5-star players.
Do they? They might have some a bunch of 4-star.
Upper threes, maybe.
Yeah.
San Jose, they lost their best quarterback ever last year.
Oh, yeah?
Can't remember his name.
Starkle? No. He's definitely not their best quarterback ever, but go ahead. I don't know. I don't even know their history. I can tell you it's not Starkle, though.
I'm pretty sure it's Starkle. And, just talent alone. Auburn's at home, 23 points. They'll cover, I think they'll be put in cruise control by halftime. I think Auburn's got running backs. They got a good defense.
Their running game looked really good. Bigsby looked great last week.
They got...
Their second running back looked really good last week. San Jose State still sucks.
Now, would San Jose State put up would they beat App State?
No.
Okay, well, there you go.
So I agree with you, yeah.
I'm just curious about the lines, how they figure San Jose State going into Auburn's 23 points, but App State coming into Texas A&M to 19.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I do. Mississippi State -10.5 at Arizona, over under 60.
I love Mississippi State in that game. Love it. I just love it.
Arizona's horrible.
Oh, the Pac-12 is horrible.
10.5, man.
Jesus.
10.5.
If Mississippi State played Georgia last week, would they lose 49-3? I don't think so.
That's
Oregon. That's the best team in the.
Yeah. I take that today just to make sure the line doesn't.
I'm feeling a lot of teasers coming up.
I'm also thinking the 60 over on that one too. So that's the SEC. Let's go. There's a couple of other games, but they're playing such bad teams that they're not even on the radar.
Are you talking like
LSU, for example?
Oh, I thought you were talking like Alabama, Texas. If you believe that.
All right, around the country, a team that we're interested in seeing, Southern Miss at Miami. Miami's -25, over under 51.
I'll tell you, Southern Miss, they're hit or miss sometimes. Some years are good in their conference, and are they in the same conference as I can't remember who they're in conference with.
That sounds correct.
So, give me Southern Miss in 25.
Wow. I like it.
25 points.
Look, it's a big step up in competition for Miami, right?
For Bethune-Cookman, yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge step up in competition. They scored 70 last week. I don't expect that to be the case. The over-under in this was 51.
Did you watch Miami play at all that game? I didn't see it.
No. It was Bethune-Cookman.
I can't believe I told us.
So, I still think the over sounds good. 51?
Yeah, that sounds really low. They scored 70 last week by themselves.
They scored 70 last week by themselves.
That quarterback's going to come out and throw the ball around. That's their...
They're going to let that guy. They're going to let that guy create a Heisman.
Yeah. Unless there's like a hurricane or something we don't know about. That's what it's about.
How about this one? Marshall at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's -20.5, and 51 is the over/under.
Marshall's a historically pretty good ball club. You know what I'm saying? They had Randy Moscow there, Chad Pennington. They get some talent. But give me Notre Dame. I think they need to right the ship.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame needs to show something on offense here this week.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't show anything on offense last week.
No.
The question is, can they score points? But their defense did. I'm going to go under. How about that?
Right. I'll tell you, somebody wants to see this game. Notre Dame killing is Ohio State because Ohio State kept it too close. They want to see Notre Dame.
Yeah, they'd love to see a big win right there.
Yeah.
Washington State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's minus 17.5 over under 49. I don't really have a whole lot of. It's two big conference teams though. It's a matchup between a Pac-12 and the Big Ten. The Pac-12, we said how bad they are. I mean, Wisconsin should be a decent team.
Yeah. Give me Wisconsin at 17. And I mean, to travel there, Wisconsin's usually a pretty good program. It'll be a low-scoring game, I think. Yeah, give me Wisconsin. What's their running on? Yeah,
49.
Yeah.
Wisconsin all day. That's what I would say. I'm going to skip that one. Houston, Akron at Michigan State.
Oh, it's Akron. I couldn't tell if that was Arizona or.
Yeah, no, Akron at Michigan State. I don't even want to.
Yeah, I don't want to go though.
Houston at Texas Tech. I think this is a big game. I'm going to have fun watching this game. Tech is favored by 3. Over under a 63. The line's moved a little bit from 2.5 to 3.5, right in that range.
Mm-hmm.
But basically Texas Tech is getting a lot of credit here against a Houston team that's a top 25 team going into the season.
Yep.
Had a great year last year, and Texas Tech lost their starting quarterback, right?
Yeah, I told you earlier I like Houston in that game, and I think Houston played a good club in UTSA last week. Got out of there with a win. They got their quarterback returning. They got a bunch of returners a bunch of starters returning in Houston. They're a good club.
Look, UTSA
has got a new coach. And what did you say about UTSA?
UTSA lost a lot of people from last year to this year. I know that they had a huge year the year before. I did expect Houston to win that game a little bit easier. They struggled mightily.
Yeah, we lost mightily.
I think Tech. I'm actually thinking Tech, and I also
Tech is -3?
-3.
Okay. Yeah, you're wrong.
Kent State at OU. OU's minus 33.5, 72.5 over under, 72.5 over under.
I like the over.
Wow.
I think Oklahoma wins. I'm not sure about the cover, but I like Oklahoma winning, and I like the over, man. It's a lot of points, but
yeah, I'd take OU because they're
right.
a better team.
Yeah.
Kent State, I don't think it's going to be able to keep up with that team. I expect the Oklahoma defense to continue to improve. Take OU. OU's biggest rival in the country, USC, is minus 8.5 at Stanford, over under 67.5.
67.5? Well, if they get up to 67.5, you think USC would win and cover that? Because I don't see Stanford scoring that much. So I think Stanford, they're going to think USC, and I think this will be a closer game. I don't know if they'll win it, but it's traditionally a close game.
Under. That's what I'm taking.
Yeah, I like the
I'm
under.
taking the under.
Give me Stanford.
Here's another one I love. Arizona State at Okie State. Okie State's minus 11, and the over-under is 58.
God, Pac-12 sucks.
I love Oklahoma State in this game.
Sucks.
I mean, Oklahoma State looked really good last week.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, they gave up points in the fourth quarter and let that other team back in it. But when it mattered, they dominated. And I expect that to happen throughout this game against Arizona State, who's not going to be good, right?
Well, I mean, who from the Pac-12 impressed you last week? Besides, USC beat Rice. Well, UCLA was having problems with Bowling Green, I think, for the first half.
And Utah lost to Florida.
Yeah, Utah lost to Oregon. Didn't they lose to Georgia?
By a million.
That was close.
Yeah, I mean, nobody in the Pac-12 impressed me at all. Arizona State was bad last year. They'll be bad again this year. Herm Edwards is going to get fired.
Hey,
and they're trying to cheat.
Who beat Boise State? Washington State beat Boise State? Or Oregon State beats Oregon State? Okay. That was probably their best win of the weekend.
I'll take Oklahoma State in that game.
Gotcha.
Give the 11 points. How about this last one? Baylor minus 3, BYU 53.5 over under.
I like Baylor, but
they're going to BYU. That's a
Provo, huh?
That's a pretty.
Is that Provo?
I think so. But that's they're known for having a good home field advantage, those kinds of things. They're up in the elevation, altitude.
Who do you like?
I like Baylor. I like Aranda. I think he's a good coach. I think he's going to have that group ready to go. I'm taking Baylor.
I hate to agree with you, but yeah, I'll take Baylor. It usually doesn't work out that well.
Little disclaimer, any picks that you make on our word, we do not guarantee those. you're on your own. But if you take all these, you definitely win.
There you go. Guarantees right there.
Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams, FridaHomes.com. Question number 1. How many INTs will Haynes King throw against App State?
Too many. Probably 2.
You're going to go with 2?
I mean, it depends on if you learn his lesson. I mean, and I'm guessing, with history, what we've seen from 2 1/4 games, he's thrown 5 picks.
Look, this guy has played two games, full games.
And I mean,
Colorado, he played 2 drives, whatever. They didn't do it in that quarter. He played 2 games and he's thrown 5 interceptions.
Yeah, he's on pace to 2.5 a game.
So
I'm going under his average. Too.
I'm going under, way under.
0?
1.
Oh, 1.
Yeah.
Haynes King. I think that's too many against this kind of competition.
That's probably true.
I think, go ahead.
Question number 2. One thing we will learn after game 2.
That's what we talked about. Is we're going to learn about our offensive line, see if they're worth a damn or not, see if they can live up to what we expect them to do, or if they're just going to roll over and let people just get in the backfield all day and not be able to run the ball. And they're going to kill Achane's draft stock.
I think what we learned this week is something that I predicted. Something I predicted this offseason. And that's that this defense is going to be the best in the SEC this year, or in competition for. Because a team in App State that put up all those points last week, we're going to limit them to less than 10 points, 10 points or less. And I think this defense shows out. That's what we learned this week. This defense is for real.
I know our defense is for real. I'm worried about our offensive line. We're not going to win, get to where we want to be without our offensive line being what we want them to be. That's why.
I agree with you. I just don't know that we learned that this week. I'm not sure
4 stars everywhere. I mean, okay.
All right, Gig 'em Aggies. AP, Corey, signing out from the tailgate.